Is it time for the Yellow Corporation to fail? And if so, how would that affect the industry, its retirees, pensions, health insurance, and current employees? Well, everybody, we've been dealing with a potential bankruptcy of Yellow Freight. Well, Yellow Corporation. I still call it Yellow Freight. That's what it was when I was growing up. But it's the Yellow Corporation now. It was formerly YRC. And they have been on the verge of bankruptcy nearly 2 decades. Pretty much my whole driving career. There's been problems with it. But let's get started by, I'll tell you about the Yellow Company and how it came to exist. In 1906, the company was started by Grover Cleveland Harrell. It was actually his name, and it was actually what was going to later become the Yellow Cab Company. But in 1929, along with his brother AJ, they started the Yellow Transit Freight Lines Company. And in 1952, actually Cleve, they called him, Cleve Harrell, died in 1942, and his brother AJ took over. And in 1952, they sold it to a company that was run by a man named George Powell. And from there, the company became really big because they pretty much invented LTL freight, how to combine, smaller shipments into full truckload. In 1968, they changed the name to Yellow Freight System, which has stayed for a long time. Actually, until 1992, when they changed the name to Yellow Corp. In 2003, Yellow Corp bought Roadway. And the weird thing about this is Yellow Freight was the number 2 LTL carrier. Roadway was number 1. And this happened just a couple months after the bankruptcy of number 3 Consolidated Freightways happened. So I thought that was pretty interesting to find out. In 2005, Yellow bought USF. And in between there, they bought a few different companies. In 2006, they changed the name to YRC Worldwide. And right after that, people remember around 2008, the trucking industry took a big hit in rates. In 2008, they claimed a loss of $974 million. In 2009, they claimed a loss of $622 million. So in 2009, at the end of 2009, they actually averted a bankruptcy. And sorry about that. How they did that was by having the bondholders exchange their bonds for 94% equity in the company. I don't quite understand what that means. People that are much smarter in finance than me would probably know. But in 2011, they reconstructed the way their company is, and what that did was wiped out almost all of the equity for its shareholders. And it also involved massive pay cuts from everybody in the company, pretty much. So, fast forward now, they continued to lose money. I'm not going to give you all the money that they've lost over the years. But in 2020, the U.S. Department of Treasury lent $700 million to its CARES Act program, which I didn't even look into totally what that is. But yeah, $700 million. What's funny is that this also meant that they now owned 30% of the company. The U.S. government owns 30% of the Yellow Corporation. In 2022, it was declared that the loan actually broke the terms of CARES. It actually should have never been given to the Yellow Corporation, is what they're saying. They are blaming it on the administration at the time, but that's all government back and forth. I don't quite understand that too much. So they had been YRC for a couple years, and I didn't actually write down when they became YRC. But in 2021, they decided to change their name back to Yellow Corporation. And they had a whole thing they called One Yellow, where they were going to combine everything, and it was all going to be one powerhouse of a company. And, well, we all know that didn't really happen. So now let's talk about what's going on right now, current time. They are bankrupt, basically. They're going to be bankrupt here in the next month or so. So let's look into what that's all about. So FreightWaves wrote an article in the last week or so. I didn't write down the exact date, and it was picked up by Yahoo Finance, and it called the Yellow Corporation a zombie company, and it says it has been for nearly 2 decades. So, some of the things that they blame this on is they blame it on an acquisition binge in the early 2000s. Bought Roadway, bought USF, bought everybody. Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters general president, says Yellow has been unable to effectively manage itself for a long time. Basically goes on to say, and now they want us to bail them out again. The government has bailed them out, the Teamsters have bailed them out, and the Teamsters are saying no as of this point. As of, now today is June 2nd, or July 2nd, I'm sorry, as of June 30th, Yellow Freight had $168 million in liquidity. Sounds like a lot. It's really nothing. That doesn't mean they're worth $168 million. It just means that's the available liquid assets they have. Its debts, its total debts are $1.5 billion, and that includes the $730 million that's owed to the government currently. They loan $700 million, but they owe $730 million. When I looked up what the actual net worth of the company was, I actually thought it would be negative, but it's not. It's actually listed as $0.04 billion. I don't know why it's listed as $0.04 billion, because $0.04 billion is $40 million. That's all that the largest trucking company in the world is worth. So, what would happen if they do go through bankruptcy? It says that they will be bankrupt by August and forced liquidation if the Teamsters are not bailed. So, what they're actually doing is they just sued the Teamsters for $137 million for breaking their contract by not allowing them to reorganize. I didn't read into that too much. I think we're kind of on inevitable ground here, but we'll see what happens. Now let's talk about what will happen if that happens. What's going to happen to our industry, do we think? And the jobs and everything else. Okay, so here's what happens if Yellow Corporation goes bankrupt. Some of the ramifications of it. It would be the largest bankruptcy in the history of trucking. The second was in 2002, Consolidated Freightways, where 15,000 people lost their jobs. It actually says that Yellow Corporation holds 10% of the LTL market, which kind of surprised me, as bad as their business has been for so long. They make $5.1 billion in revenue a year, and it would put 30,000 people out of work. The ramification for the Teamsters would be that they would actually lose 22,000 union workers. Currently, UPS is the biggest Teamster company, I believe. Trucking company, anyway. But yes, it would lose 22,000 union employees, and the article on FreightWays says those jobs are not likely to return as unions are not capable or not compatible with the modern truck. So that seems logical. What I can't find out is what happens to the pensions of all these retired Yellow Freight drivers, YRC drivers, the Yellow Corporation. What happens to their pensions? I know there's health care involved with their retirement. What happens to all that? These are good people who worked hard a lot of times for their whole life, driving crappy equipment, things like that, because someday they're going to retire, in pretty good shape and have a great retirement. And what happens to all that? I'm not sure. I'm going to try to find out. If anybody knows, please comment down below. But yeah, that's mainly what I'm worried about. 30,000 people out of work, that really sucks. But we are in an economy right now where there are a lot of jobs out there, and they are paying very good. So that might be a good thing. There is a truck driver shortage, maybe, I don't know. I know it seems like every trucking company's hiring, and most, yellow corporation drivers are at the, top level of driver. A lot of experience usually good safety records, things like that. So I don't know that they would have trouble finding jobs. But basically, this company, called a zombie company by Freightways, they say they're alive, but they're really just zombies. They're not really alive anymore, and haven't been for 20 years. So, as far as them, they've already cost us, you, me, everybody pays taxes, $700 million, and actually $730 million, because we should be getting that interest. We're not going to see that. I'd be surprised if we see it. Is restructuring possible? I did read an article about that, and it's not very likely. Not very likely that that company could restructure into anything. It almost can't be restructured anymore. It's a lost cause. It's just go out of business, and let the people who know how to run trucking companies do that. I'm not eligible for government bailouts. Obviously, most of us owner-operators have gotten into trouble at some point with repairs or something like that, and either our savings accounts took a hit or we even had to borrow money. So I understand, but to think that this company could keep getting money lent to it, I don't know. I just don't know. My personal opinion is it's time for us to see the end of Yellow Corporation. But people probably have different opinions, and I could be wrong. I'm just an owner-operator that owns 2 trucks. I don't know all about big corporation and stuff, but it just seems like this is a failing company, or the company is. So comment down below. Let me know what you think. I might do a follow-up on this if I can find more out about the pensions and stuff. But yeah, just let me know what you think about all this. And hey, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you like this, you're not already subscribed, subscribe down below, hit the like button. But hey, I appreciate it.